Paul Vanderklay is going to show up.
Oh, nice.
Hopefully, if he can figure it out. Oh, he figured it out.
Oh, nice.
Hey guys.
If he can figure it out.
Oh,
Oh, he figured it out. You're echoing all.
There. How about that? That should be better.
Yes, you're no longer echoing. So one of the things I love about StreamYard, you can just leave the link. Anybody can come. Sometimes my Bible study got flashed once. But so you have to be a tiny bit careful, but you let people in, and yeah, it's I've actually been going on this Muslim Dawa. Dawa is what Muslims call their evangelism channel. So he has like 500 people watching at one time type thing. And so I've been going on his channel a lot, EA Dawa. Yeah.
Well, this is very easy. I know you've talked to me about StreamYard before. I looked at it a little bit, played with it, but I just haven't had time to, play with much else from what I've been doing. So, but this was very simple.
Yeah, you can have up to 9 people on. Maybe that's a paid feature. Like you can only have 5 if you're not if it's free. And if it's free, it has this on. But one of the things I really like about it is I can even do things like this. So, when I'm doing Hebrew or anything like that, or this is one of my favorite images. Have I told you why this is one of my favorite images?
No.
How good's your Hebrew?
Not good.
Okay, so you see the 3 lines above Jesus?
Yeah.
So the top line is supposed to be Hebrew. And first of all, it's anachronistic Hebrew. The dots and stuff were invented around the year 700, I believe.
Yeah.
So the sign would not have had it.
No.
But better than that. So the Jesus, the Nazarene is spelled correctly. Stop it. The next 2 words, he kind of got tired of following whoever wrote it for him. So it's a pseudo Hebrew.
Well, if Pilate puts up the sign, how good was his Hebrew?
We actually have signs from the Second Temple.
Really?
Yeah, the British Museum actually has some signs from the Second Temple with Hebrew and Greek.
That's one of the things I wish I had more time when I was in London to get into that museum, because I know there's tons of stuff there, and maybe my next trip over I'll plan some vacation days so I can see some of that stuff.
Oh, another fun thing, you can put the chats up like that, and I'm simultaneously doing StreamYard at the same time. So this is on StreamYard.
Well, StreamYard is its own platform, so you can stream.
Oh, sorry. No. Twitch. I mean, sorry.
Oh, Twitch. Oh, okay.
You can stream to multiple platforms, and it's not using my internet. I'm connecting to their servers. You're connecting to their servers, and they're broadcasting however many. And you can do multiple YouTube channels, actually. But you can broadcast in lots of different ways. So, yeah, I've become a total StreamYard evangelist.
Say hi to your dog for me.
Oh, thank you. Say hi, Abby. Yeah, she's in the office with me today.
Yeah. I see you're hard at work.
Well, I was until people started bothering me. I got to see John
Paul,
Van.
how'd you like Europe?
Europe was great. Europe was great. It was a great trip. It's
Do you know Michael and Gavin?
yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
Paul, you know, some of your cousins' kids were my youth group students
Where?
in Mendon, Massachusetts. Some Nidams, Kevin
Oh
and
yeah.
Lydia.
What church were you in?
So it was Bethany Community Church, what they call it. It was Assemblies of God, but they went to the school there, the high school.
Which of my cousins' kids went to that high school? Do you remember their parents' names?
Kevin and well, I don't know.
Oh, Kevin and
Nidam.
Lydia?
It's Kevin and Lydia and
Kevin
Nidam.
and Lydia.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, my cousin John.
Yeah.
His kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. They've both Kevin and Lydia are now married with kids themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, because I remember after we talked, Lydia posted on Facebook. She's like, "Why are you having a conversation with my dad's cousin? That's so weird."
John was my closest cousin. He's about 6 months apart from me, and so whenever I'd go up to Whitensville, John and I would always play together. And John's great. We always got along great. My younger sister and my cousin Mel never got along as well, but love all my cousins in Whitensville. Yeah, it's got to be kind of a weird thing for them to be like, "How do you know him?"
Yeah, just a little bit, not too.
Yeah. You guys just hang out here all day?
Well, usually we argue about stuff. So
Really? I can't imagine. Jacob would never argue about anything.
We don't just argue. Garth says, "Tell Paul I said hello from the Twin Cities." I don't think you know Garth, do you?
Just ringing a bell, but then
He's
again,
really tall with like this goatee.
okay. Well, maybe I haven't met him, so sorry about that. It's more embarrassing meeting people than forgetting about them. So it's this lumbar number is a pain, and it doesn't help when you get older.
He didn't come to Chicago, and he also didn't make it. Paul and I have talked about 3 years ago.
Okay, see?
Oh, right. He was on your channel.
Okay,
yeah.
you got a rando slot?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Well, I probably remember if I see him. It's easier remembering people when I see their faces.
He's a machinist. I think I remember him talking to you.
Okay. Well, that's starting to ring a bell. So, Jacob, why didn't you get to Thunder Bay?
This is my busy season at work.
Oh.
Yeah. And it's like Jewish holidays, and I'm taking off for Cassidy's and Ferdy's wedding.
Oh, I'm so jealous. They get married on a Sunday. I mean, it's like Cassidy of all days. I can't spare another Sunday this year. Yeah.
So,
although we're talking about doing something similar to Thunder Bay in Southern California.
John talked to me today about it, and BYU LobsterCon is boiling.
I didn't catch that. What's going to happen?
A possible, maybe we'll invite Paul. Possible similar thing happening at BYU.
Brigham Young University?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
It's working. Ethan didn't tell you the official.
Jacob's a missionary to the Mormons now.
Ethan didn't tell you that LobsterCon 2022 was held at Thunder Bay. You didn't know that?
No.
So for 4 years, they've been having LobsterCon at BYU. The day I joined the Facebook group, the day before I joined the Facebook group, Latter-day Lobsters and Sorted Saints, they announced that they're canceling LobsterCon 2022, and I'm like, oh, you can't do that. I actually texted you about it, and I talked to Catherine, and it's difficult because there's church hierarchy to deal with, and the people are trying to deal with that. But so I'm like, you know what? How about we invite everybody who went to LobsterCon to come to Thunder Bay, which we did, and we officially even had an event which only Ethan was like the representative at, so that we didn't lose the 4-year streak, right? So LobsterCon 2023, the 6th annual LobsterCon BYU, I'm actually hoping that BYU is going to sponsor it.
Okay.
We're talking to some people.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's the new fascination with the Latter-day Saints there, Jacob? I heard some rumblings about that.
Some rumblings? Okay, so on my way back from Chicago, when I left South Dakota, I had to stop somewhere, and between South Dakota and Los Angeles, like the most convenient place was Salt Lake City.
Absolutely.
And I had never been there.
Oh,
so I go there.
And you went to the temple and all that stuff?
No, I didn't. The temple was closed because they're renovating. I mean, I spent some time, and then I went to the Great Salt Lake. There's this place called Sunset Beach, and so when I got the Google thing to where to go, it's like sunsets are beautiful down there, right? And yeah, I can't get into the temple.
Right.
Okay.
And yeah, this is a whole different angle. Yes. And so I'm like, okay, I'll wait for sunset. And I look at my watch, and it's like 3 hours to sunset. I had gotten there like at 6 p.m. I thought sunset, 9 p.m. is sunset, right? So I'm sitting there listening to your latest video about what happened at Synod, and then I'm just sitting there and I'm thinking, and for maybe the second or third time in my life, I felt a calling. And it was like, why are there no Mormons involved in our little corner of the internet? It's like the perfect. It's like, it seems like it's the perfect
There
thing,
are
right?
some.
I didn't know that.
Yes, there are some. There's a handful.
Okay. I know we have ex-Mormons.
Yeah, but we do have current Mormons too. They're usually in the comment section.
Okay. I would love to be put in contact with them. But anyway, so I had I had this other calling. Have I told my Mormon joke that Jews tell all the time?
I'm afraid. But
I've heard this one 3 times, I think. Maybe more.
So this is a joke that Jewish anti-missionaries tell all the time. Why did God create Mormons? So Christians would know how Jews feel.
I thought that's why he created Muslims.
Yes, Grim. I reeled in the big man.
Grim Grizz must be jealous. Although I pop into his live stream fairly often.
Well, he could get onto the live stream if he wanted to.
He doesn't have much stamina online, though. I mean, he only goes like a half hour. And I know, Jacob, you hang in there. You've got stamina.
Yeah, you have to. he has to go smoke. That's the Gar says, question for Paul when you get the chance. What are your thoughts on substitutionary atonement or atonement theories in general? I was just talking to whatchamacallit about penal substitutionary atonement, to John Van Donk. So I'm going to hit you with something else. On Sunday, I went to Grace Community Church, walking distance from here.
Is that MacArthur's church?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
So they give me a book.
Oh my goodness. You with the MacArthur tribe.
This is his book.
One of his books.
One of his books. But it's actually a very recent book. Okay. And I started reading it and I'm like, why is he attacking Judaism?
Because he likes to attack lots of people. So there's just one on the list.
Yeah. But he's like, hey, we have classes starting at the beginning of every month, membership classes. You're welcome to go sign up for that. And I'm like, well, I mean, there's nothing wrong. I don't have to become a member. I'll go sit in on the classes. So I go to sign up for the classes and I'm like, I'm not actually thinking of becoming a member. And the lady is like, it's okay, there's no commitment, whatever. And I go to fill out their application and it asks, is Jesus your Lord and Savior? No. Are you baptized? No. Okay. And then they have a membership interview just to go take the classes.
Oh, I'm sure they do.
And this young man comes up, says to me, I didn't realize, and I thought the lady in the line said, oh, they're just going to tell you what membership, is like. And so, in case you want. I'm like, okay. So I sit down and he looks at my application. He's like, Jesus is not your Lord. I'm like, no. He's like, well, you can't be a member. I'm like, yeah, I just wanted to sit in on the classes. I'm not a, and he's like, he says to me, if you were to die today and God asked you, why should I let you into heaven? What would you say?
It's evangelism explosion, D. James Kennedy. Yeah.
And my answer was nothing. And Van Donk actually has a much better answer than I do. If he doesn't know, there's nothing I'm going to tell him, right? But I'm like, nothing. Like, what are you talking about? And he's like, then you're going to hell. And I kind of wanted to say, if God wants me to go to hell, isn't that where I should go?
You're so close to being a Calvinist. So close.
No, I mean, seriously. And they're supposed to be reformed, right?
Well, they think you can be dispensationalist and reformed. And it's like, no, you really can't. Yeah, they're kind of weird. They're kind of weird reformed. In their opinion, I'm not reformed enough, but that's just the intrigue of this whole little reformed community.
A really nice campus and a really nice library. I love
lots of money.
Yeah, that's obvious. Anyway, so they kicked me out. And I genuinely, when I was leaving, I felt so bad for that young man. He thinks I'm going to hell and it's his fault.
I don't know that he takes it that personally.
You weren't talking to him.
I would have loved to have been there for that conversation. That would have been fascinating.
No, I said to him, I'm not here to argue with you, and this is why I brought this up. He's like, and I said, I'm not going to join your church. I have a different theology. And he's like, what do you mean? And I said, well, for one thing, I don't believe in penal substitutionary atonement. You've heard of it, right? And he's like, yeah, why? And I said, Ezekiel 18. And I said, you realize most Christians don't believe in penal substitutionary atonement, right? Which is...
That's not true.
Yes, it is. The Catholic Church has not declared it an official heresy.
Well, okay. Catholic Church has a fair amount of theology that leans a lot on substitutionary atonement too.
Not penal substitutionary. They've considered, the Vatican website has a page explaining why they did not declare it an official heresy, and the answer is it's too incoherent to be declared a heresy. But so that's most of William Lane Craig pushes a lot of things, including his new Trinity, which it takes a lot of chutzpah to come up with a new version of the Trinity. And I think Dale Tuggy and Sam are right. He is a modalist.
Yeah, I think that's what Bethel said too.
Yeah.
But public service announcement pushing is bad.
PSA.
Oh. Oh, Grizz. Well, how have you been doing, Gavin?
I've been a little bit sick. Oh
no! Did you get COVID?
I did not. I did one of those at-home tests. My neighbors that were across the street, they're this very nice older couple. They're like, here's an extra test we have. I think they were curious. They wanted to know if they needed to stay away or not. But no, the whole family got sick. It wasn't COVID. I heard you got it.
I got it. Yeah, I got it in Thunder Bay. So if Jacob had gotten to Thunder Bay, we would have given him COVID too.
Right.
By the way, all the people watching, there is a link in on the pinned to the top, which you can click on. All I ask is you turn your video on, and you can join the discussion. We have 12 people watching. This is like one of the most popular streams I've ever had.
So, Paul, one of the first interactions I had with you, I have 2 YouTube channels, but I had my son. Like, he was like 2 years old. So it must have been over 4 years ago. And I remember you said your wife really enjoyed having the kid in the video.
Yeah. We had so if you watch the Freddie and Paul show, oh, here's Sam. Look at Sam got in my video today.
I haven't watched the video.
Yeah, twice, 2 of your videos. So no, actually, my wife says her absolute favorite video of mine is the dance segment at the end of the Freddie and Paul show from this week. And I have to admit, that is one of the most joyful, fun things I have ever put on YouTube is Freddie and Charles J dancing. So
if you
didn't catch the Freddie and Paul show, the first part of the Freddie and Paul show rolls out per normal. But then Freddie and Charles want to do some dancing, and so I recorded it for them, and then they did a second take. So I recorded that too, and I recorded that for me, and it's just fun. They're just having a good time, and Nancy was upset because, Nancy thought that the show lost its missionary standard that she usually brings to the show, and I said, Nancy, you'll have to come back and make it better then. So
That's fine.
Michael asks, are the Friday Q&As coming back?
Yeah, they should come back. They might, maybe, I don't know about this week, maybe this week. Rick hasn't asked me. I'll have to check with Rick. But so basically the plan was I paused just a ton of stuff during July, August, and September because of all the traveling I was doing. And now we just had our regional classes meeting on Tuesday. And so really next week things should start getting back to normal. So we should be able to do some Friday Q&As again then.
That's good. I feel like the Friday Q&As provide a level of coherence and purpose that's been missed.
Yeah. So actually, I thought of Jacob today because someone asked me about the protest portion of the Peterson's a Peterson recent video where he announced some new tickets, and so I actually thought of maybe doing a little video about that today. So we'll see. If I do, it'll come out tomorrow. Let's see. Today's Thursday. It'll be tomorrow morning.
People are very, very excited that you're here.
How have you been, Sam?
I've been busy. Okay, fine. 2 of my kids have been sick the past week. Kind of all 3 of them. I have a new job and a new baby, so my attention's been more split and divided than usual.
Yeah.
But so I haven't been investing in my channel quite as much as normal, but still I've got an interview with a Danish New Testament scholar tomorrow morning.
Wow.
So that should be pretty fun, but that's like the first academic interview I've done since the new job and the new baby.
Okay. How old's the new baby now?
The new baby was born let's see here, 3 months ago. 3 months ago.
June, right?
What?
Your wife was pregnant in June when we were out there.
That was correct. Yes. The last time you saw me, I was a father of 2, but I am a father of 3 now. Baby was born 5th of July. It was kind of, so the 4th of July, if you remember, there was the shooting in Highland Park, Illinois, which is, I won't dox myself too badly, but very near me. And my wife woke up the 4th of July saying like, hey, I think this is it. I think baby's coming. So, rumblings are happening. Birth pangs upon the pregnant woman were happening, but then it stopped. And so then we went to our local 4th of July parade. And then all of a sudden in the middle of it, the police told everyone to go home. And we're like, what's going on? And like people start checking their phones and it's like, oh, neighboring community 4th of July parade mass shooting. And at this point, everyone kind of knows what that means, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And then later that night, my wife's like, no, it's really, really happening. And so we went to the hospital. Baby was born the morning of the 5th.
Congratulations.
Well, thanks. Baby's healthy and fine, though.
Good.
3 months old, right?
Yeah.
5th of July, it's October 6th. So yeah, 3 months and a day. But babies are always hard. Although I feel like this baby was easier than usual. And I don't know if we got an easier one the 3rd time around or if we're just better at it or both. But
yeah, well, there are easier and harder babies, that's for sure. Freddie's calling me.
It's crazy how each baby has their own personality, even in the womb. I didn't expect that before I became a father.
Yeah. Yeah, they're all different, and they get more and more different the older they get. So, but it's pretty cool.
How many do you have, Paul?
5.
I don't think I want to do 5. I have 3. So now I have the same amount as Sam.
Well, congrats.
3 is seen as reasonable. You get to have 5, and people start looking at you like they wonder if you're Mormon or Catholic. Or
right. Yes.
Or maybe a quiverful Reformed community.
When my wife goes grocery shopping with all 3 kids, right, and she's like wearing one on the front, one on the back, and one's walking, she'll get some comments. Some are good, some are that sort of passive aggressive, why do you have so many kids comments.
I have zero regret at this stage having had 5. Because
at this stage
it's a lot when they're little. I mean,
empty nester.
It impacts every area of life, And when they get into college, it's really expensive. But now that we've just got one in his last year of college, just seeing the relationships they have with each other. I also have zero regrets having homeschooled, because just in terms of their relationships with each other, that really gave them a bond that is really solid and deep. And
Paul, how many of your kids lived in the Dominican Republic?
Two.
Two oldest?
Yep.
The two oldest had some amount of time. Were any of them born in the Dominican Republic, or would you go back
My
stateside
oldest
for
was.
birth?
My oldest was.
So your wife's first birth was in the Dominican Republic. God bless her.
She's a beast. I mean, my wife's a tough woman.
Khalifa's one of 16.
Yeah. That's a big family. Hey!
Dang. All right. So now that Chad and Jacob and Paul are here, is everybody getting along, or are we still fighting?
I fucking hate all you guys.
Which is why you showed up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it's all is well.
I love Paul, and yesterday was the Day of Atonement, so I hold no grudges, but I'm still not going to go back to the POS.
That's one mental.
What if we baked you a cake, Jacob?
That's not why I left, and that's not why I would come back. And from what I hear, it's been becoming more and more of a Christian server anyway. So
it's just the shape of history, Jacob.
Look, some of us stand athwart history and say that way, and others of us don't. I have a very definite vision of what the world should be like.
That's clear.
I thought that the conversation between Pajot and who was the other guy, the other professor at Thunder Bay,
Richard Mandrell.
I thought that conversation was fascinating, because he is obviously a very well-informed person and knows a lot of stuff about a lot of things, but he was also like, WTF are you guys saying?
Yeah.
Right? And it was interesting hearing Pajot go through the effort at translation or catching up or whatever exactly you called it. And it reminds me of how, like, you know, what so a lot of the people on the server or at meetups or what have you had maybe some amount of exposure to first wave Peterson stuff and have been paying some amount of attention to various parts of this whole shenanigans since then. But what would it take for someone who just stumbled upon this stuff now to belong, to join, to feel caught up, to feel like they're participating, etc.?
Yep.
And if it's that hard for some amount of a professor who studies consciousness or something thereabouts to get caught up, how much for the average Joe? And so that was the thought that I was having.
This is the reason I tried to have Karen on my channel. Karen Wong brings things down to a understandable common level. And I don't get to watch all of her content because we put out way too much content in this corner. Well, I can't say too much content, but we put out
You're
so
the
much
chief
content.
of sinners in that regard, Jacob. But
And you know what? This is why I've started having more just chatting streams and not having. This is one of the reasons I'm having more just chatting streams and not actually putting out as much content. Because exactly that. I think if we are going to, we need to be having more conversations.
Yeah.
Stephen, do I know you? Is this your first time here? Watching Jacob and PVK together makes me think that the tension between the finite Judaism and the transcendent Christianity should not be resolved for the sake of humanity. I think you have it backwards. We're the ones who believe in an infinite God, and you're the ones who believe in an embodied God.
I knew Jacob was going to take that.
No, this whole
I beg to
newcomer-
differ, but I'll shut up for now.
this whole newcomer conversation. I'm not going to dox them, but there's two separate people, both of whom have a lot of experience and or access, that are actually paying a lot of attention to this problem and want to do something significant to address it. And we'll see if something comes of that.
What'd you high status newcomers?
They're not newcomers. They've been following along, but they're not active on the Discord server. One of them has been on my channel, but there's another one who's been behind the scenes of a lot of things, and they both have come to me with this very same thing, and they've gone to Peugeot and Vervaeke, and Peugeot and Vervaeke also, well, one of them, Peugeot and Vervaeke, know quite well. And so this concern, and I don't know how much of the Thunder Bay talks you've seen. I'm just sort of rolling them out slowly. There's more on the consciousness.
I bet if I had to guess, a cardiologist in a mountainous state might be one of them.
No, it's not Dr. Jim.
All right.
But this is an area. Concern isn't quite the right word, but it's an area of interest and some activity. And so,
is it a converted Orthodox priest?
What's that?
Is it a converted Orthodox priest?
No.
Okay.
No, it's probably not someone you guys have heard of. But this is someone that one of these two reached out to me and has been in conversation with myself and Vervaeke and Jordan and Jonathan for a few years now. And he's got some real interest in doing something, but he's sort of lurking, staying behind the scenes, waiting until he thinks the timing is right and the idea is right. So, but you really put yourself, that's really something that you put your finger on, Sam. So
we talked about that at our last Chicago meetup. Is our numbers are fine and healthy at our local meetup estuary, but it's becoming more and more returners and not as many newcomers. And we were wondering, what would we even do with like a total newcomer, right?
Yeah.
And is our culture conducive to welcoming and integrating such a person? And the answer was, it would be a challenge, and it's not great at that, really.
So if you've watched the larger, when they had the four of us on stage plus Catherine, I talked about that a bit. But no, that's a concern. And actually, so Catherine inviting Richard Mandrell to the Thunder Bay, when she did it, everybody there's kind of like, how's this going to go? Why is he here? But afterwards, I said, actually, it was genius, because there were about a dozen people at the conference who came knowing none of us, maybe knowing Mandrell, but knowing none of the rest of us. Like in one of the breakout groups, I had one dude sit next to me, says, I don't know who you are. I don't know who this Peugeot guy is. I don't know who this Vervaeke guy is. And those are the kind of people that are fun to have in the room, because they're going to tell you exactly what they think. You don't have any of this status crap going on or any of that kind of thing. And so having Mandrell in the conversation, I think, was important. And as we're looking at future events where we're probably going to have Peugeot and Vervaeke and myself, I think having the practice of bringing someone in from the outside who knows very little is really important. And Richard was only committed to Friday and Saturday, but he came and stayed through most of Sunday.
Well, I have a suggestion.
Bishop
Barron could be a great fourth horseman who is also removed enough that he doesn't necessarily talk all your lingo.
Who?
And Bishop Barron?
Oh, yeah. But Bishop Barron, yeah. But he's someone that's already got high status.
But Bishop Barron was also an example of this problem when in the Four Horsemen video, he was a little bit like, wait a minute, you guys, you three of you can talk in a way that I'm not fully in on.
Yep.
And he noticed that, and credit to him for kind of trying to adjust and figure that out.
Yep.
But it was also a symptom of this when and Bishop Barron, it's like, for heaven's sakes, if Bishop Barron doesn't understand what we're saying, and who knows how much that guy's read and, understood, right? Anyway, go ahead.
Go ahead, Chad.
So I kind of like, it's kind of like watching, I mean, even though like Lex Friedman is like kind of an intelligent dude, I think he still speaks some of the dumb language that I would speak. And so he's kind of like this. I've noticed this in some of the other conversations that he's been having. Like I really liked the one he did with Bishop Barron. I liked, and that was kind of like between that one and then the one that, the Shia LaBeouf one that they had, there was a lot of, you got to see, I think a little more of the personal Bishop Barron come out, kind of like somebody who is, not using, I mean, even though he's using some of the Latin and stuff, it was like still, for me, I could follow along. So I don't know.
Well, Lex Friedman, I mean, he only has a PhD from MIT and works in artificial intelligence.
He doesn't just have a PhD, he's an assistant professor or something at MIT, right?
I think he was a postgraduate researcher, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but
okay, so we can have Lex for one of these things.
But Lex Friedman is becoming
high status.
Well, Lex Friedman is becoming, it was interesting, he was kind of IDW adjacent, right? And kind of a low status IDW adjacent guy, but his podcast has taken up a lot of the slack that other people's have left behind.
Yeah.
And he's sort of moving in our corner adjacent with, the Levin biologist guy and Bishop Barron and Vervaeke, Lord knows he'll have Peugeot on to confuse his audience in the next couple weeks.
Yeah, wait till I'm on.
I was thinking, he's got to be watching these videos. There's no way that he's not paying attention to some of the stuff I'm almost probably guessing he's even seen some Vanderklay videos.
Click away. Too long.
Well, then, Paul, what do you think about the idea of maybe making exploring not a year-end review, but something like a up to this point review, if you had to condense it into some simple language for a newcomer.
It's hard for us inside of it to do it. It's best done through the eyes of someone coming in from the outside, because we have lost our capacity for outsider relevance realization because we've been in too long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they help us see some blind spots, which is really good.
But we're in enough where we have something that other people notice that we have and want it. It's part of it. So the insularity has, enabled something to come about. What exactly it is, I'm not sure I could describe in any way. But people notice that we have something that other people don't have and want.
Yep.
So that is also because of the insularity and the self-referential whateverness.
Well, I think one of the main things that, if you want to say something we have that others don't, would be the randos conversations that Paul's had. I think that is kind of that's really been probably the big worm on the hook for a lot of us, because it gives us a sense of belonging and all this stuff. It's really kind of like as close as you could probably get to fostering something like a relationship with people in the real. And so that's exciting for people. I mean, that was really exciting for me. So
people want to be part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And figuring out how to scale that is it's a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and also ecumenical. No, Laura's right. And I really, Laura, when are you going to let me repost those videos, huh? Those were great conversations. But there's a good reason to, I mean, that's the struggle. There's a good reason not to have them up there. And, but for me, again, I mean, I had 4 hours in a car with Jacob. I had 12 hours in a car with Luke. I'm surprised he didn't get COVID from me. You know, and so I'm really excited about the in-person things that we're doing now, more of those, because you just build, you just know people so much more in person than you can, you know, in this video space.
Okay, Paul, when are we going to talk about the elephant or not?
Is there an elephant? I was going to make a video. The video I'm going to make today, I'm tempted to make about this. So if you want to talk about this, we can talk about this.
I do want to talk about this.
All right.
Where to start though?
Be brief. I don't have all day.
Yeah,
we all feel different parts of the elephant, right? But you know, I think the elephant's kind of like a truck.
So I will say this. When you wrote to me, and I hope you don't mind me quoting what you wrote to me, but I'm going to quote what you wrote to me, if I can find it. Where is it?
I regret what I wrote to you.
Okay.
I regret that comment.
Oh,
I didn't know how to respond to you, and I at that point I wasn't quite aware enough of everything that was going on, and so one of my rules is don't write comments like that, and I broke my rule, and I pay for it.
Oh, hold on, no, I'm not talking about the comments on the YouTube. I'm talking about what you sent on Discord.
Oh, okay.
So I'll tell you the part which I found the funniest. The only PVK show is my channel, not BOM, not even Estuary, which I'm far closer to. Yeah. And I'm not gonna read the rest. But I found that hilarious, and I am going to keep this and stop you from eating your cake and having it too. You already ate your cake. You're not gonna get to have it. So Estuary at BOM, everything else. Okay. You're not running it, Paul.
I'm not.
I think you're crazy, but I think you're ultimately going to end up running them. But I'm going to make you eat those words, or you're. No, you can't have your cake and eat it too, Paul. You can't have your cake and eat it too.
I'm not exactly sure how to apply that metaphor, because it's clearly clear to you, but it's not clear to me.
You don't run it. When it's good for you, when you feel comfortable, you're like, it's not me. I don't run it. Other people run it. I'm just my show, just my channel, and then you also then run things. And what's even worse is you give people the impression that you run things. And people depend on you running things.
Well, now that last pit, that's on them.
No.
Yes.
Promissory estoppel is in the civil law.
Promissory estoppel? What did you say?
Estoppel.
Oh, I thought some new group that arose, and then we have to deal with a promissory Gestapo.
No, promissory estoppel is in the secular law. It's part of our civil law. If you give the impression that you run something, you are legally liable.
Yeah, but from my point of view, it doesn't. I would have never suspected that Paul's ran anything. because he said repeatedly that he doesn't.
That's not good enough.
I would really love to stick around, guys, but I got to get ready to go because I got to run this Zoom portion of the AA meeting. So, yay.
All right, Chad.
Thank you, guys. I
Good
really
to see you.
And I'll see you around.
All right.
I highly recommend people look up promissory estoppel, and this was actually what I sued Hasbro over.
You sued a toy company?
Hasbro was in the top 500 before I sued them.
You brought down a toy company? And the children are lamenting. Boy, Jacob.
I estimate it cost them about $1 million, my lawsuit.
And what did you get out of it?
I got my car.
Boy.
Although,
you've ridden in my car.
So to defend Jacob's muddled analogies a little bit, I think part of what the German elephant situation did bring up is what is the boundary between bridges of meaning and not bridges of meaning. And we do, but part of what is great is that there is no barriers to entry, right? Jacob, you kind of have to rise to prominence through your own sort of efforts, but there's no one stopping you except your own ability to draw an audience and attention to yourself, right? You can make your own channel and you can invite people on your channel and people can clip you and that sort of thing, right? And, no one's stopping you, etc., unless you run afoul of the YouTube, community guideline strikes or what have you. But part of the question is Chad's channel and the content on it attributable to the Bridges of Meaning brand in such a way that it should affect whether or not a venue decides to host one of our events? That was a central question, basically, to the German elephant. And it is a decent question that I don't totally know the answer to myself.
No, neither do I. Who came up with Bridges of Meaning, the name?
Joey.
It's not me.
Right, but Jacob's point of people are led.
My Discord server this Friday, right?
I could.
You are more than welcome to.
And we've got Gavin here. So one of the things when everybody was whining to me about being exiles, I said start an exile server. I'll come and do a Q&A there.
I don't know how to attract people.
I have at least 4 people who were kicked off of. Some of them left, but yeah, I still have several people who were kicked off of thing. Not that I actually disagreed with Joey ran that server in ways we did not deserve to have somebody like Joey spending the type of time he did. Like, I have incredible gratitude for Joey, and I do not blame anybody for
and
not.
It's amazing he never banned you.
No, I don't think that's amazing at all. I think he. No. See, that's the thing. No, I don't think he was ever even close to banning me. As far as I know.
I think that you built yourself up enough over enough period of time that you became uncancelable. But I bet early on. Anyway, I shouldn't speak to this because theoretically I could search a chat thing to see if that were true or not. So I'll just say.
Rick says.
Rick has a way with
because I was helping you make your point. Because the fact that I knew that says something to the fact that I do have some closeness to people who are running that. When Chad started his channel, he called it Bridges of Meaning. Joey.
No. Okay, so Chad has corrected this several times. I think Joey may have gotten this confused, but Chad has said several times it was always called BOM Hub. Joey never asked him to change anything. I think Joey may have confused different channels, but
that's what Joey told me.
Yeah, I heard that Joey said it, and that's why I spoke to Chad directly about it. But Chad has corrected this several times.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it shows you how disconnected I am.
Well, look, and honestly, like Joey, not keeping exact files of how things were done. Like, look, this is part of the Protestant nature. It's funny. I talked to Father Eric about this stuff. Not much. I'm like, Father Eric, what do you have to say about this? He said nothing. I'm like,
he's a wise man.
But you're the one who's supposed to stop us from being so Protestant. And his response was, Discord is Protestant. And he's absolutely right. We are very, very Protestant, and I'm probably most Protestant of them all.
Keep that quote in your back pocket for some other time.
I've been saying this for a while.
And you want me to be less Protestant.
Look, I'm not gonna make you less Protestant. You're going to be who you are. And I realized that before, and I realize that now. The fact is, yes, we have Prophet Zacharias meme incoming. You're gonna have to post it to my server.
Jacob, who's in charge of Antifa?
So did I tell you about Facebook banning my Antifa page?
Is this how you spent your $1 million from Hasbro?
First of all, why would you have one on Facebook? And then, I would imagine it got banned. But
because Antifa kept on saying, "Oh, we're not an organization. We're nothing. So I started Donald Trump Antifa, and I posted. I would post on behalf of Antifa. Yeah, be anti-fascist. Vote Trump. Because I do not believe in letting.
You're worried about people coming after me.
Well, no. See, this is the thing. People. Okay, I have had to correct so many people about this, and
why.
I'm surprised I have to correct you. The person who made the complaints did not have problems with Chad, did not have problems with Burn Powers. They had problems with you, and they were attacking your flock in order to attack you.
What person?
Whoever put in the complaints.
This is a good question. Is who exactly? So Jacob and I have had some lovingly charged messages about this in the name of brotherhood and whatever that Hebrew word for direct, blunt speech is. But
I think it's a Dutch word.
Is it Dutch word?
First of all, Bad Stats may have been behind this.
Who?
It's very easy for Bad Stats to have been behind this. But even if it wasn't him, whoever it was did not bump on Chad's channel and spend how many hours going through Burn? How long is Burn's content?
Well, like Jacob, to the best that I understand it, is that there was some resident Antifa adjacent people at the German venue who probably do this to every speaker that gets hosted at this venue to do their homework or due diligence. And this is how they gain status within their community, is noticing that someone left some non-Antifa approved comment and so therefore they're going to try and cancel this person and raise their status within this German community, and they're mostly probably 20-something do nothing.
And this is why I
And
started
they complained about Byrne, and they complained about Chad, and they had no complaints about me. That's the record.
Because they knew better.
I don't think
this is why
Jacob, you don't know that though. Jacob, you don't know that.
And I started talking about the Holocaust. Yes, I do.
No, you don't.
This much I know.
No, you don't.
We're not being a confessing church.
Well, how do you know this? You've given me no evidence. I hate to sound like a celebrity atheist, but there's not a lot of evidence you've given me.
And I didn't think I would need to give evidence to somebody who's been following Jordan Peterson to see that what's been going on for the past over 20 years is that people have been using, yes, I can't believe I have to make this argument with this shirt on.
But Jacob,
the Kathy Newman interview.
Jacob, sometimes it's a wolf and sometimes it's, a tiny little rogue coyote that isn't part of any pack that you don't need to worry about. And you know
what? I don't make Holocaust allusions lightly, Sam.
I know you don't, but I think that you could be subjectively
you think I'm being controversial. You think Jordan Peterson, when he talks about Chairman Mao, he's when he compares these protesters to Chairman Mao, he's just being silly.
So, Jake, all right.
Gavin,
I just wanted to point out, like, when you start talking about the propositional, you can get really angry. It's interesting to me to talk about like the participatory, like what if this happens again, or and that gets to questions about what you were discussing earlier. So, but yeah, I mean, you can keep trying to argue about what's propositionally true. I mean, some people will find that entertaining, but I just wanted to kind of provide just a little bit of a meta story over on top of what's happening.
So were these random people who have a lot of time on their hands, who might even be Antifa rejects, following central commands, or were they behaving in the spirit of something that's a problem but don't really have any actual? That's a big distinction. It's a big distinction.
It is a completely irrelevant distinction. I don't care. I want a confessing church because I want a confessing church because I see us. I think I said to Yosef 1928. We're holding at 1928, and I'm not. Antifa existed in Nazi Germany. Did you know that?
I had no idea.
Antifa existed in before in the Weimar Republic, and we are replaying what happened in the Weimar Republic. The censorship is exactly what happened to Goebbels. Exactly what happened to Goebbels. The censorship helped fascists come into power. We're not playing a game here. If you know your Holocaust history, yes, we are. For a good 6 years, I have been seeing a slow motion train wreck that I can't just sit there and watch. And that's why I joined this community. I want a confessing church. And we don't have a confessing church.
No, we don't. I have a confessing church that I'm a minister of, but Bridges of Meaning is not a confessing church. Estuary is not a confessing church. I've been very clear on all of that.
By confessing church, I mean the exact movement that Karl Barth and Bonhoeffer? Dietrich Bonhoeffer?
You mean like the Barton Declaration?
Yes. They were called the Confessing Church.
Yeah.
And they stood up to the Nazis. And that's why I keep on bringing up Mitbrennen der Sorge, which is the Catholic encyclical which the Pope issued in 1937.
Which I have no idea of anything about.
So,
okay,
Jacob,
I
this is the point
understand.
that I made to you earlier. Okay, so this was our first brush up against an enemy of some kind. I think you way overstate what that enemy is, but we can either
Malice.
be forever tarnished and forever not the thing that you think we are, because round 1 or round 0.1 didn't go the way that you think it should have, or we could be the sort of community that keeps talking about it, that tries to improve, that tries to learn lessons. I do think the
Who's been
lesson of
having
what it,
conversations
Jacob,
stream, Sam?
I do think that part of it is that we do need to have a better conversation around what the definition of BOM is, what the definition of estuary is, what is attributable to it and what isn't, and that the incident around Chad, raised that question in a way. But I think that the idea that we had our moment to stand up and assassinate Hitler the way Dietrich Bonhoeffer
I
wanted
never
to, and we
said
failed.
that. I
is
never said that.
well,
You're creating a very false situation here. First of all, I am still Paul's
so you're
on my
allowed to make Holocaust
having a
illusions, but I'm not, or
What?
how does this work? I don't know when we get to make Holocaust illusions or not.
I'm talking about 1928, and you're talking about 1944.
Okay, all right, sorry, wrong year.
Wrong place in where we are in history. History is repeating itself, and I don't want to see a repeat of the Holocaust. Never again means something to me.
I don't think any of us, Jacob, doubt your heart.
We're supposed to be chatting.
That's okay. This is the best moment of the time. I mean, part of okay, to the degree that I have any influence over bridges of meaning, I want that influence to have something that we care for each other, at least at a level that's appropriate for, what we can do on a
I can't see the future, Luke. That's 100% true, and I don't believe anybody can see the future. That's why I don't like seeing the past repeat itself. And it is. I can see the past, as can Jordan Peterson. So a lot of people in our community, when they see Jordan Peterson's Kathy Newman interview, and Kathy Newman says, "Aren't you being like just controversial when you talk about Mao?" When you and he says, "No, I'm not." That's why I am here, because I see what Jordan Peterson sees.
Yeah, I think, Jacob, you basically see that there's postmodernists who have infiltrated the education system for decades and has.
I see censorship, Gavin.
Okay.
Censorship is, if you know anything about the history of the Holocaust, you know that Joseph Goebbels was censored. He was censored, and he used that censorship in order to get into power. Yet, everybody who's for censorship keeps on saying, would you want Joseph Goebbels to be censored? As if anybody who knows that history doesn't know Joseph Goebbels was actually, Streicher went to jail. Der Stürmer was confiscated. So when people start bringing up the Holocaust as a good reason for censorship, either I mean, you don't get the answer exactly wrong. You don't get the answer exactly wrong unless you know what the answer is.
All right, but Jacob, I don't think that anyone is denying some of the larger trends that you're pointing to. Maybe, all right, sorry, that was too strong of a statement. I think most of us would be in some general agreement with some troubling trends around censorship and the brokenness of the left and the crumbling and, you know, decapitation of institutions, etc. And even seeing connections between that and 1920s Germany is a conversation that's worth having. But it's also like you're trying to say, because of that, everything I did was right, and everything I said was right, and everything you guys who disagreed with me is wrong.
No, I have never.
Now I'll say something, Jacob, that I think a good point that you are making that I see. I mean, what happened in Germany was a very small thing that changed very little. And I think Sam is right. And I think you're right that what it should do is have us do a little bit of thinking about how we are going to respond to opposition in the future. Because I have seen, you know, since this summer, just in various interaction on Twitter, there have been a few more accounts that have sort of, you know, had their little go at me in their own little way. These have been very small accounts, and they've done it in a certain way. And this is part of the reason why, you know, when I get towards this time in the day, I've got a few hours. You know, I think, okay, if I'm going to make a video for tomorrow, maybe it'll be about something like this. You know, actually, I was thinking about this topic because I think you are right that there will be attempts at silencing, canceling, altering, pulling punches. There will be attempts to get me, probably more so others who have higher status. And I think we need to think carefully about how to respond to the various ways in which groups and individuals are going to try to, and what are they attempting to do? They might be attempt to have us alter our language, might be an attempt to have us change positions on things, might be an attempt to
not have us be able to organize and hold events.
So what I'll tell you, and what I've said I've done several streams on this. What we did is precisely what they wanted. If we had done anything other than what they had expected, it would have blown up in their face. Because if we had called their bluff,
Jacob, I still think you're using they in an agentival sense that is inappropriate to this particular incident, and you are overplaying kind of your hand. But there is still the point that Paul was just trying to make. And the point that you're trying to make, Jacob, is that when people go after a thing, they try and probe for weakness and start at the weakest points. And maybe that's going after people like Chad and Byrne before they go after PVK himself. And I think that you're right about that, but that doesn't mean that the thing that happened in Germany was a they that is connected to the them that you're worried about.
You know what? It doesn't even matter. Because it may be an aggregor. Call it an aggregor. I don't care. Our response was the normie response to these tactics that have been going on for years. And this is the one community I trusted not to respond like normies.
That's what you wanted. You wanted the community to respond.
You know what?
In a different way.
Germany, for me, it was just a little bit too symbolic, especially with that picture you put out. And you know what? When I talked to Job,
what picture?
He talked to the picture of the Vanderclays in the synagogue.
What about that? You think they're going after me because of my Jewish heritage?
No. I actually don't think that the Jews are the people that they're gunning after. I don't think that, and I've said this to several people, I don't think they're looking to hit at Jews necessarily. It doesn't even matter. The fact is, we're having this, call it a Rene Girard scapegoating mechanism, madness of crowds, mobbing, call it whatever you want. But our society is going crazy. There is a feedback loop that is scapegoating people, and we need to stop it. I don't think Jordan Peterson was being crazy when he compared those activists to Chairman Mao.
No, I don't think he was crazy either, but that's a very different level than what happened around the German festival. But I see you're saying it's different in size, but it's similar in kind. That's what I hear you saying.
He was just a professor. Who was he for them to be protesting? You have a lot more say than the protests when Jordan Peterson started.
I have a lot more say?
How large was Jordan Peterson when he first made his the suspenders video?
Nearly 100,000 subscribers, mostly because people enjoyed watching his academic lectures. But anyway, I don't mean to fact check the point that you're trying to make.
Fine, but it's a lot smaller than he is now.
Yeah.
And they don't go after the big people. That's the funny part. Like,
they're going after Jordan. They've been after Jordan in a lot of different ways.
And they go after Trump for precisely the same reason. There is
it comes down to it. No, the low-level violence is so much deeper. Read Madness of Crowds by Douglas Murray. Look into James Lindsay. Look.
But Jacob, we don't disagree with you on some of that stuff, and we have read some of those books, and we do listen to some of those people. So,
yes, which is why
which is why it seems like you're miscommunicating, and I'm a little bit confused exactly what you're.
That's possible. I'm bad at
if we can look at patterns and microcosms, I'm wondering if Paul has had similar experiences with people who would want to advocate for some kind of censorship. Is there a way to respond that's appropriate when people are advocating for censorship? And have you experienced anything like that in the past?
So in the church community, a lot of these kinds of dynamics are very present. The politics can be different. I mean, it can be about policy in church, but these I'll call them a la David Letterman, stupid human tricks. These things tend to stay sort of the same. And even as leadership in a small church, you'll see lots of different games being played like this. And, things are different now with social media, and it's a little different for me now because I have a platform that's a little separate from the church. But when I see a lot of people doing like what they do on Twitter and what they say, it reminds me a lot of little church fights. And so
relational aggression, which men tend to be blind to and women tend to see much better.
Well, it certainly is relational aggression in some ways, but then you have to ask yourself, okay, how do I respond to it? And how and in what way? And sometimes the best response is no response, because sometimes responding, especially if your platform is larger, I see all the time people respond to things and all they do is they give their enemies more power and more visibility. And that way their enemy actually leverages a platform and you give the enemy a platform they don't have.
And Jacob, I also think you underestimate how much of the situation was resolved in Germany by personal relationships that people had with organizers of the event.
What I said from the very beginning was the proper response to those complaints was people are already traveling. We're not going to respond to this. It's too close to the actual thing. But what we actually did was apologize, which made the people who run the center be like, uh-oh, there's smoke here, and pull out.
But
Which is exactly.
but this is where the whole ownership thing is, because I didn't have, by the time that those who were organizing the German event had actually dealt with this, I hadn't heard anything about any of it.
Okay.
And whereas, I had no idea about any of this until fairly late in the game.
Okay. So I'm very glad to hear.
Let me talk about the church world. Now, I work in a church that has a council. And so when there are fights like that in an organized church, we, meaning the council, actually discuss things, and there is a we there. And that wasn't the case in any of this.
Which is a problem.
And well, Jacob, I actually think you also underestimate the ability of decentralization to beat centralization. And you underestimate the tactics of Protestantism, or I could just say diffuse, non-centralized organization, to be the real main antidote to the thing that you're actually worried about. And that if you try and centralize and organize it too much, it makes it easier to attack, and it makes it easier to corrupt and easier to besmirch or what have you. Whereas if it is more decentralized, and what Paul does is kind of connected, but also loosely connected from whatever the heck I say on my channel, right? Because no one's accusing Paul of, being a promoter of heretics or something like that, which maybe some people are, but but part of the reason why Paul can clip my video is like, Paul clipping my video isn't like, some ringing endorsement of every theological opinion I have. And part of that is because there is a diffuseness and a decentralization that is a strength that you're underappreciating.
Please like and subscribe, people. This may be the largest.
Thumbs up.
Grim Grizz has a Patreon.
Hey, I
Navigating Patterns is Martha Faber's channel name.
Okay.
Look.
I should land this at the top of the hour. So.
Okay. There's any number of things we could have done.
Again with the we.
Yes. Okay. Yes, because we're a community, Paul.
But this German festival was not a function of the we.
Yes, it was.
But you didn't organize it.
I didn't, and I'm not even criticizing the people who did.
No, that's exactly who you're criticizing. Because
no,
they're the group that responded.
No, that's the thing. I am actually not criticizing the two people I'm not going to even name.
Well, they certainly feel criticized.
I know that, and I'm sorry, but it's certainly not their fault.
So the attacker is becoming so nebulous that it's weird to even talk about who the who is, and the defender is becoming so nebulous that it's even hard to define who that who is.
I want us to be a corporate community.
That's actually a strategy in companies, is you don't criticize the person, you criticize the behavior. You try to learn. All right.
The behavior, look, when it comes down to it, what made me leave the server the second time was nobody wanted to discuss it. And it was like, okay.
What made you tear up your membership card to an organization that doesn't have membership cards?
I didn't tear it up. I certainly did not tear it up.
And yet we're having this conversation here.
Yes, we are. Yes, and Paul, notice somebody has been a sort of instigator. Somebody has been in making conversations happen as if he's part of a community.
And I think you are still part, because part of the difficulty that one of the things that I can see by virtue of sort of where I am in this network, in this community. Now that community word gets really stretched because we have all these communities around, is I see there's people who hang out on the Discord. There's people who went to the German festival. There's people who went to Thunder Bay. There's people who went to the Netherlands event. There's people who went to the Ireland event. There's people who went to various estuary meetups in the UK. There's the number of people who feel themselves as part of this, who actually participate in the Bridges of Meaning Discord, is a minority. There are many other people who, well, they might watch a little Sam. Others have never seen any Karen. They might not have even watched Vervaeke. And when you look at, there's the bigger subset are people who watch Peugeot and Vervaeke because their channels are larger than who watch mine. I mean, it's sort of this strange little network that goes way beyond any of us. And Bridges
and has no clear definitions of starting and stopping.
Right.
Well, that's why
and Bridges of Meaning is sort of one little node that has a little bit more definition than a lot of the other things.
This is why I've been plugging thislittlecorner.com, which is the search engine of our channels, which Ryan Lewis helped create.
It's a great tool.
And which is why I tried with Post-Platonic to try to get us a little bit more corporate, and why we need to stop being so damn Protestant.
Well,
Once upon a time, I tried to push Paul to be a little bit more corporate. Me and Hank did, and he more or less kind of said no politely, and I think that he was born out to be right. So I will say that.
Father Eric, you're a bit late. We already quoted you.
He's taller in person than he is on the
already quoted you. And Father Eric, if you were to start a server, I would join it.
He tried to join John MacArthur's church after all.
Hey, I have been accused many times of being a Catholic apologist, and I do not apologize for that.
Well, I am glad we had this conversation, Jacob. I'm glad we had it on your channel. And even if you're not participating in the Discord community, I still feel you as part of whatever this nebulous network we have is, and you're a very important part of it.
You can check out, but you can never leave.
No, look, if the Discord is officially not Paul Vanderklay, and I'm not going to let you have your cake and eat it with that either.
I'm looking for see if I have any cake around here.
When it comes down to it, if the Discord is officially not Paul Vanderklay, okay, it's officially not Paul Vanderklay. It's also not Joey Antonassi. So, like,
but neither is. But this is where you're right with the Protestant. Neither is Living Stones. Living Stones is not officially Paul Vanderklay. I wonder if John MacArthur's church is officially John MacArthur. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it is. And
I'm pretty sure it is.
I've been telling Sam over and over again, and he keeps on telling me you underestimate Jesus's driving skills, is Jesus take the wheel is not a plan.
Hey, did the Palestinian People's Liberation Front win, or did Jesus win? The Judean Liberation Front. What's that from? Life of Brian?
I really want to talk to you, Sam. Once we're rid of this bald guy, I really want to talk to you about MMT. It's one of the.
Is that a psychedelic drug, or is that what is MMT?
It's one of the Dead Sea Scrolls. I just read it on Sunday, and whoa, I really need to talk to you about that.
All right. Well, you'll be rid of the bald guy now, but I'm delighted. I'm delighted. I saw that you were live streaming, and I'm delighted I jumped on. And
I am too.
And so, anyway, I'm happy to be here. Like and subscribe. Oh, whatever this thing is that we have going, it is a delight, and it is a delight because of you people. So that's how I feel.
Ethan says bye, Paul.
All right. It's great to see Ethan. I gotta get out. Let's see. Okay, leave studio. I see the little button.
Leave studio. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Take care, guys.
Bye.
I'm gonna head out as well.